The chill is settled in her bones. Her heart is lined with ironstone, and lies in her chest like a fallen bird, a silent song that has never been heard. The candle cannot light the dark. Blankets cannot banish the cold. Her gentle hands have grown so old, stained all grey with that cold, dark mark. The sun strokes her dull flaxen hair, falling soft over her grey eyes, all worn out with that sad disguise of a smile hiding despair. Blooming ribs are crushed with the stark cold truth of her life torn apart by the shake from the beast that holds the valley's wealth that will be sold and folded into pockets of men who wear tall sharp hats full with lies, assuring her that all will be fine. Her work will not end as he dies. She walked one night all down the track. Grey smoke plats her hair down her back. And she trod this way just once before, her hand nearly down to the floor. His tiny fingers, they crossed her knuckles. He laughs aloud, she quietly chuckles. He's smiling at the running stones, running from his young kicking toes. They're walking out to stretch his legs. She clears her throat and, "John," she says. And he listens and he cocks his head. Once there was a little boy, just like you, but he's called Joy. Walking across the moor one day, he met a stranger on his way. That man was covered from top to toe with frowns and tears of dreadful old woe. That boy Joy, who's just like you. He rushed up just to talk to the bent crying man. His worn out tears Joy couldn't understand, and now, fearing the worst, his little hand creeps towards the poor man's shoulder and fetches the smouldering sadness from the cold inside, tears that the old man cries. And he picks up those glittering drops and builds the most beautiful spinning top, looking as though it were made of bright glass, but hard as steel, so as it might last. And that little boy Joy, who's just like you, spun the top on the old man's faded shoe, and just like that the man smiles, with light spun by the child. "So John," she says, "now you must remember, throughout the darkest days of December, to catch the tears of people crying and spin a top that'll keep them smiling." Her little boy John, who's nodding his head and dropping her hand, and off he is sped down the track with a backward grin. "I understand," his voice, it spins. Now she walks, her tears falling, her joys gone, her sadness crawling out her grey eyes and down to her lips. Her tears aren't caught by his fingertips. Her knuckles burn with the slow cold, her heart is heavy, growing old. Her son is dead, her life goes on. Her eyes don't see the rising sun. His laugh, it died at 12 years young, trapped between two wagons and stunned that life can end so fast. His voice was stopped mid-laugh. Her feet carried her to the track, where the cruel wagons were loaded with ironstone hastily grabbed, the hillside so fast eroded, and her little John's back facing the sky, his mangled hat thrown clear of the wagons, his body lies in the shadows, and she cast her eye like a dark fishing rod caught up with hoping for an empty pond, but there, rising from the terrible depths, she turns the neck and holds his head. In death, She sees the shadow of his laugh traced on his lips like a lost gasp. Her son's face is now swept into the past. His feet are no longer light, quick and fast. She stares up the insurmountable hill. The track keeps on walking while she stands still. The men they talk and claim their innocence. She keeps holding her head and inner sense. Her tears fall and collect at her feet, a growing depth that her mouth will soon meet. Her flaxen hair will surrender and float like the broken mast of a sailing boat.